Okay. Okay, so this class is AZ900. This is you can say this is your entry point to Azure. So this will be very basic. If you have like experience and you have already working with Azure, then uh, means let me clear that first that we won't be covering any service in depth in this particular fundamental course. Okay, so whatever we will be covering is like your introduction to Azure, introduction to this service, introduction to that service. So if I'm covering like virtual machine, so I'll only show you what are the ways to create virtual machine, what is virtual machine, and why you will be using virtual machine. Similarly, we'll see what other Azure services that we have. So that is what this course means. So it's just the basic course. You'll be only given introduction to Azure services. That's all. Okay, so there's no in-depth, nothing. For starting, this is my name, Imran Ketani, and I'm a Microsoft certified trainer since 2017. So now I have completed 5 years being Microsoft certified trainer, and I have few certifications under my belt. So I recently cleared AZ305, that was the Azure Solution Architect, and I also have AZ104, that is Administrator uh, certificate, Azure Administrator Associate. I also have the development knowledge. And apart from this, I'm not a full-time trainer. So I'm working as a consultant, working as SaaS operations engineer for one of the company in Malaysia. So we have whole of our infra in Azure. So I have the industry knowledge as well as this training knowledge. So I do training on part-time basis. So this is one of that. From past like 3-4 months, I haven't been taken a single class. Okay. So that's about me. Now let's see what are we going to cover today. Now the certification that we are covering in the next 4 days, including today, is AZ900. That's Azure Fundamental. So let's see what you can do after AZ900. Once you have that certification or once you have that knowledge, what you can do after that. Okay, so we'll discuss the certification path, the roadmap for Azure. We'll see the basics of cloud computing. Okay, so what is cloud computing? Why do we need cloud computing? Then, as I said, why do we need cloud computing? Then, what are the advantages of going from your on-prem infra, the traditional infra, to cloud? Why industry? Why company should think of moving their infra to cloud? What are the advantages? What are the advantages they'll be getting? What are the different service models available? How it's going to be beneficial for company if they are moving. So they'll be reducing a lot of their capital expenditure. Okay. Then we'll see whose responsibility is it. If I'm hosting anything on cloud, whose responsibility it will be. So if you're using, let's say, OneDrive, okay, I hope everyone knows what OneDrive is. So OneDrive is an application that we use to store data, similar to Google Drive. Okay, so OneDrive comes from Microsoft, Google Drive comes from Google. So I'm storing my data in cloud. So who's responsible for that data? Who's responsible for the underlying infrastructure? Okay. So if I'm storing my data in cloud, they'll be having some uh, storage thing there where they are storing my data. The Microsoft will be having a data center where they have the SAN storage or whatever storage technology they're using. And whenever I'll upload any data, it's going to store somewhere. So let's say this is the server where my data is stored. So who's responsible for this data? Who's responsible for this server? Who's responsible for the networking? If anything happens to the server where my data is stored, if that is down, who's going to recover it? Okay, so all those things. So that is a shared responsibility. So some responsibility is of customers, some responsibility is of cloud provider. Then we'll see what are the different deployment models we have. And I don't think so you need this right now because it's just AZ900. If you want to practice, you can use Microsoft learns sandboxes to do the practice. Okay. So because this is just the 4 day and I'm not covering anything in depth, so I don't think so you should waste your free account here for this class. Okay. And at the last, we'll be having question and answer session. Or if you have any question, you can raise your hand. We'll be taking question in between also, if there is any question arises in your mind. Okay. So this is what I have. This is what is in the agenda. So that is what we are going to cover today. Before starting, do you guys have any question regarding cloud or regarding Azure or AWS or any cloud? You can use the chat box. If you don't want to speak, you can just enter the message.
Imran, no question so far.
Okay. Thank you, Sanjeev.
Yeah, no question.
Okay, so let's proceed. Yes, just as a question, is the AWS is different, right? Not related to Azure. Yeah, you're correct. AWS is different service provider. Azure is different service provider. Okay, so let's start. So we'll be starting with certification path. So right now you are here. You are just starting your Azure journey, AZ900. Now I would like to share one thing that Microsoft has its own virtual training days where you can register for the training. You get 2 days of training and then you are also eligible for the certification voucher. So you can use it and you don't have to pay anything there. Okay? You just enroll for the training, attend the training, and you'll be given a free voucher so you can register for the exam, AZ900. Similar is case for any fundamental exam. So you can also register for AI 900, DP 900, and also there is one more SC 900, and then there is PL 900. So all this fundamental course are free. You can register for the training, you'll get the voucher, you can just go for the exam. So this is from Microsoft. You can, I'll just show you where you can have that. So if I just open the browser and search for virtual training days, okay. So if you just search for Microsoft virtual training days, it will give you the first link. You can click on that and you can see what is the schedule and you can register for that particular training in whatever training you are interested. So if you're interested in this fundamental course, you can just go and search for that particular training. Okay. So they also provide it for Microsoft 365, but there you are not getting the voucher. So the SC900 course is fundamental for security. Whatever security products Microsoft has, they'll cover it there. Yep. So it's just a great initiative by Microsoft. So they can introduce you to their services. You can see that the next class from Microsoft is on August 16 at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So you can just go register there, just provide your name, details, and you'll be receiving an email, whatever email address you'll put it over here. Okay, so you'll be receiving an email, and once you have the email, just join the class. It's mandatory to join the class. If you're not joining the class, then you won't be getting the voucher. Okay, so this is one thing that you can do. So you can see that it will be a 2 day session. And at the end of the session, if you read the details, you'll see that they have mentioned that you'll be getting a certification voucher. Okay. So once you have the voucher, according to your within 3 months, you'll have to take the exam, or else the voucher will be expired. Okay. You have the option of taking the exam from the comfort of your home. You don't need to visit any Pearson VUE center. You can just keep the exam from your home as well. Okay. So I'd like to encourage you to go to this link, register for the class, and next time when uh, I'll be conducting the free session for Easy 104, I hope to see you that you have at least Easy 900 certification. Okay. So sorry, Jess, you're asking about money. This is free of cost from Microsoft. You don't have to pay anything. Okay. Okay. So these are all the fundamentals certificate. So if you'd like to know about Azure services, if you're from infra background or if you're from development background, AZ900 is good for you. If you're just entering Azure. Okay. If you want to learn machine learning and artificial intelligence, AI 900 is for you. If you want to learn about, if you're from database background, or if you want to go to data engineering, or you want to become a data analyst, DP 900 is for you. Okay. So these are the three main fundamental exam, not main. We after uh, this this three exams we have SC 900. So if you're from cyber security background, you can go for SC 900 exam. Okay, here they cover mostly cyber security related things. So Microsoft Defender, M365 Defender, so all the tools, Microsoft Sentinel, all the tools they have, they'll be covering over here. Okay, and this is the new one, PL900. This is for Power Platform. So if you want to become RPA developer or RPA administrator, okay, robotic process automation thing, so you can start your career with PL900. So these are all the fundamentals exam that are out there. Also, apart from this, we have MS900. That is for Microsoft 365. Okay, so if you want to learn Microsoft 365 suite, you can go for MS900. So all these are fundamental exams. Once you are done with this, you can choose your specialty. Okay. So as I discussed, AZ900 is for admin and developers. So if you are from the admin background, as I am, so you can go for AZ104 after completing AZ900. Now it's not mandatory to be certified as AZ900 as Azure fundamentals. You can directly go for AZ104 as well. Okay. So AZ900 will just give you the introduction. AZ104 will cover in-depth things. So whatever admin related task we have, all those things will be covered under AZ104. And if you're from developer background, you can go for AZ204. So I have both the certificates under my belt. Okay, so you can go for these exams according to your specialty. If you're from cybersecurity background, you can go for AZ500. It will show you how you can secure your infra in Azure. So whatever resources you're deployed in Azure, how will you secure those resources? So this is the course for that AZ500. Okay. Now this is for Stack Hub Operator Associate. Even I have not learned it, so I don't know a lot much about this. Okay, AZ600, but it's in well demand. I think this is for SAP HANA or something. Okay, so AZ600 is also in demand. Then after completing AI fundamentals, you can go for AI 102. I'm not sure about the latest certification code. It may be AI 104 or something. Okay, but you can search that in Google. For data engineer, you can go for DP203. For data administrator, you can go for DP300. Similarly, for data scientist, you can go for DP100. And for analysis, you can go for DA100. If you are interested in DevOps, you can go for AZ400. This is one of the toughest exam out there to crack. Okay, so you can go for AZ400 if you want to learn the DevOps practices that Azure has to provide. So it's just Azure platform for doing your DevOps things. Now, both these exams have been retired, AZ303 and 304. Now it has been replaced by AZ305. So initially we had to give two exams. Earlier we had to give before March 2022. We had to give two exams to get this certification. To get this certificate, Azure Solutions Architect Expert. Now you just need to give one exam, but this exam has a prerequisite. So you need to be AZ104 certified. Then only you can go for AZ305. And AZ305 has everything that means it has everything like something from database, something from AI, something from security, something from admin. So it has everything included in it. So it's again one of the toughest exam. So this AZ400 and AZ305 are the toughest exam in this slide. Okay, so this is certification path. You can start with AZ900 and then you can go for whatever your specialty is. Okay, so this is associate level exam. AZ104, 204 are associate level exam. This is a specialty one. Okay, so you can choose accordingly whatever your specialty is, whatever in whatever field you're working. Okay, so this is about certification path. Now 900 is free of cost. Every 6 months, Microsoft throws you the Microsoft opens this thing, Cloud Skills Challenge, and I post this every time they have this challenge. I post this in our WhatsApp group. Okay, I don't know how many of you have leveraged this, leveraged the benefit of this, but yeah, I completed one of my certificate from this. So what is Cloud Skills Challenge? So Microsoft will give you the challenge. You have to complete the module. Okay. Now, uh, you have to complete the learning path for any of the certification that is included in this challenge. And once you complete that path, you will be eligible to get a free voucher for these exams. Okay. Now, generally, you need to spend some money because AZ900 is free, AI900, all the fundamentals levels are free except MS900. But for this administrator associate level exam, you'll have to pay. Okay, so how to get that free? You can wait for Cloud Skill Challenge. So last Cloud Skill Challenge happened in May, June, last month itself. Okay, so you can complete the modules. Now, where to complete the module? Let me show you the site where you can complete the module. If you'll just search for Microsoft Learn over here in Google or in Bing or whatever your favorite search engine is. If you search for Microsoft Learn, you'll be landed to this kind of thing. Okay, so if I search for AZ900 in Google, I have landed to this page. Okay, if you'll scroll down, you can see the Microsoft Learn thing here. So Microsoft has given you the learning path. You just need to complete this part. Right now, see, I have logged in with my IK classes account. I have not started it. Okay, so once you start this, you will be having the modules. Okay, you can click on any of this. You can read it along. At the end of the module, you'll have to give answers to the questions. Once you are done with this, you'll be getting this much of point 900 XP. Microsoft has created this for most of its certifications. Okay, so in Cloud Skill Challenge, what happens? They have some of the exams that is included in Cloud Skill Challenge. So let's say this AZ900 is included in that. So you need to complete all the modules we have in this learning path. And so when you complete all these modules at the end of the at the end of the challenge, you will be given the voucher, and you can use that voucher for the exam, and you can sit for the exam, and you can get your certification free of cost. There's no cost involved, but that is again only only once in a 6 month. So from past 2 times, Microsoft has given that, but I'm not sure if you'll be getting that in the November, December, in the month of November, December or not. So if there is a challenge, I'll post that in the WhatsApp group. You can go, you can enroll, and you can complete the modules. And once you are completed with the module, you can go for the exam. Okay. This is about certifications. You can go for whatever your specialty is. You can enroll for that. Now, AZ900 is very basic, so we'll be covering very basic thing here in the next 4 days. Okay. So let's start with our session. What is cloud computing? Okay. So in simple language, you can consider cloud computing as keeping your data in someone else's computer. That is cloud computing. And who's someone else? Someone else is nothing but the provider. It's not like that I'm going and keeping my data in my friend's laptop or computer, and that is known as cloud computing. It's not like that. Okay. So I'm keeping my data, I'm hosting my applications, I'm putting my data in someone else's computer who is a provider. Here the provider is nothing but, let's say, Azure. So what is Azure? Azure is nothing but a platform where I can host my application, where I can keep my data. Okay. So Azure is the provider. Azure is the cloud platform that is owned by Microsoft. So I'm keeping my data over here. So that is known as cloud computing. Okay. So our data over someone else's computer is nothing but cloud computing. It's a simple language. Now, if you want to go with the book definition, delivery of compute services over internet is nothing but cloud computing. So this is the definition from book from Microsoft, or delivery of compute services over the internet. Now, what are the compute services? So compute services now, let's say I want to host my web application. So what are the requirements for hosting a web application? So let's say I have a web app. I want people to reach. I want to get business from internet. I want people to reach to my web application, and whatever I have to offer, whatever products I have to offer, I want them to buy from my website. Instead of visiting me at my store, I want them to buy it from my web application. So what are the requirements will be there if I want to host, or if I want to come up with a web application? So first of all, you need to have a code. So you'll be hiring a developer who will be developing your web application. You should have that code in place. Once you have that code in place, you'll be needing a server. Okay? Now, server is nothing but a powerful laptop, you can say, which will provide these services. Okay. So you have that server, you have a hardware server. On top of that hardware server, you'll need to buy an operating system, and you need to install that operating system on that server. Now, operating system can be free of cost or can be a paid one. Okay. If you'll go for Linux, you don't have to pay anything, but you won't get the support. If you want support with Linux, you can go for Red Hat. Okay. If you want to host your application on Windows, you can go for any of the Windows Server operating system available in the market. That is Windows Server 2019, 2022, whatever there is available. So on top of that hardware server, I'll be needing the server operating system. Okay. And this will cost. If you go for Linux, it will be free of cost depending on the distribution you're using. If you go for Windows, you'll have to pay for the licenses. And on top of that operating system, you'll be installing the runtime. Now, what is the runtime? Runtime is nothing but the language that you're using. Okay, so that will be provided to you by the developer. Means the developer will say you on in which language this web application is developed. Okay, so that can be a .NET, that can be a Java one, that can be Python, whatever language is available. These are nothing but your runtime. You'll need to install that in order to host your application. So let's say my application is developed using .NET. So I need that runtime installed on top of that operating system. And once all this thing is done, I can now deploy my code. So all these things are required in order uh, to host that one instance of web application. So what is the requirement? Server, operating system, then the framework that you're gonna use, the runtime, and then your data, your code. Okay, so all this thing is required. Now, how much cost is for that hardware server? If we talk in Indian rupees, it will be over and above 1 lakh rupees. Okay. If I talk about operating system, that depends on which vendor you are using. You're going for Windows, you're going for Linux. So that depends. Okay. So 1 lakh for that hardware server, whatever cost we have for the operating system, then this framework, and then on top of that code, whatever I have to pay to the developer. So all this cost is involved. Okay. Now, this is your on-prem thing. You can have your server, you can have your operating system, you can have the .NET or whatever framework you're using, and you can deploy your code on top of that, and your website is running. But in order to have my users reach out to that web app, I need to make sure that networking is in place. Now, what is networking? Networking is in place in sense you should be having a public IP. So that is publicly routable, means people can reach to my website using internet. So for that, I need a public IP. So that should be in place. Okay. So I have to pay for this public IP. This is not for free. So who will provide me this public IP? Your service provider, your internet service provider. You can reach out to internet service provider, and that provider will give you with the public IP. And you'll have to pay some money for that as well, monthly, yearly, whatever the subscription plan they have. So all this thing is needed in order to make sure that my web app is in the internet and people are able to reach that website. Okay. So all this thing is needed. Now using cloud computing, what I can do, I can remove all this thing. I don't need to buy all this thing. What I can do, I can bring my code. I can ask a developer to develop a code for me. If I'm not a developer, I can ask a developer. If I'm a developer, I can develop the code. So I can ask the developer to develop that code for me. I can use this code and directly deploy into the cloud platform. So I don't need to spend this 1 lakh upfront. I don't need to buy the license for the operating system. I just need to tell the provider that I need this .NET framework, and I just need to give this code to them, and your web app is up and running. You'll be getting the public IP as well. Okay, so all this thing is provided to us by the cloud provider. So in this case, Azure. So Azure will provide me with all of these things. So this is nothing but delivery of compute services over internet. You just need an internet connection. Once you have the internet connection, you can go to Azure portal. You can create the server for yourself. Okay, and that is nothing but your virtual machine. So you'll be getting the virtual machine from Azure, and on that virtual machine, you can deploy your code, and your website is up and running. This virtual machine will be having a public IP for itself. And now your website is up, your users can reach out to that website. Okay, so there's a question from Jess. So you mean we don't need to buy a domain name, just public IP is enough? Yeah, public IP is enough, but obviously in order to ease the access of your website, you need the domain name. You need the domain name, obviously. Okay, but yeah, you have the option of enabling the domain name as well for your virtual machine. So you can do that as well. Okay. If you don't want to invest in domain name, you don't want to build your own brand, you can have the domain name from Azure, but that will be having like something common for everything, common for everyone. Okay, common for everyone in the sense you will be having a virtual machine. Let's say you are giving it a name web server 01 dot. So here you will be having the Azure's domain. You won't be having your own domain. Okay, so that is thing. Public IP is enough, but obviously I cannot ask my users to remember the IP addresses. So for that, I need the domain name. So you'll have to buy the domain name if you want to build your own brand. If you want to use your own custom domain. If you want to stick with the domain that is provided by Azure, you can stick to that as well. Okay, got it. So the benefit here is that I don't need to buy this server. I don't need to pay for the OS. Obviously, I'll be paying for the operating system here, but that will be on the pay as you go basis. So let's say tomorrow I don't need this server, I can just decommission this server. That's all. But in traditional way, if I have bought the server now and if I don't need it tomorrow, I have to resell it to someone in the lower price. Here I can save that money. Okay, so if I don't need the virtual machine, I can just go to the portal and I can decommission it. Okay, so that is delivery of compute services. So delivery of compute services means you'll be getting your servers, you'll be getting your networking done, you'll be getting your storage done. So all the thing you can have uh, in within a few clicks. You can have your storage account ready, you can have your virtual machine, you can host your web application over it. Okay, so all those things are a few click away from you now. So that is cloud computing, delivery of compute services over internet. You just need the internet connection. You can create whatever you'd like to.
So a quick question over here.
Yeah.
What about if you would like to go for increase the data, increase the size of the disk or memory, CPU, how it works, whether it would be, so since they make routine, they maintain in DCS.
Mhm.
So how do we proceed in between this? Assume that there are some SQL servers are running and your client required to increase the size of the CPU memory and disk, or
Yeah,
if I would like to build a new computer.
yeah. So that is available over there. So that is known as scalability. So let's say initially I have built my web server with 4 GB of RAM. Now my requirement is changing. I want 8 GB. So I can just simply go to that machine. There we have the option of resizing. So you can just go, you can select your new size. So maybe you need 8 GB or 16 GB, whatever. You can just click on resize. You can select that particular size, and you will be given that new virtual machine with the newer size that you have selected. But here there is a downtime. So this machine will be rebooted. So you have to be aware of that.
Okay,
Okay,
that
so
will be chargeable, right?
yeah, that is chargeable. So charge is on this thing. You have 4 GB. According to 4 GB, they'll charge you at the end of the month. Now you're resizing it to 16 GB. So according to 16 GB, you'll be charged next month. Okay.
Oh,
So it's
fine.
like consuming the electricity. So whatever you are consuming, you'll have to pay for that. So if I'm consuming 4 GB of RAM, I'll have to pay for that. If I'm consuming 16 GB, I'll have to pay for that.
So how it
Okay.
works as the back end, see, coming to
Mhm.
your billing, so it will be directly charged to your company. So how the deduction will going to happen? So the bill will be going to get the company MD itself, like how it works at the back end. I'm sorry to ask
Uh,
this. Yeah.
yeah. See, you whenever you subscribe for for Azure services, okay, so you have to create your account. So if you are asking from the company's perspective, the first thing they need is to create an account. Okay. So they will, when they create the account, there will be credit card associated with it.
Okay, how about if the amount is big, sir? If it goes to see there are organization which like Infosys, Mindtree, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So in this case, they are not going to work with the credit card. And so what are the other payment options? Like,
See, you can become a partner to Microsoft. So you'll
okay,
be getting EA subscriptions.
okay,
Okay. So according to that, they'll charge to you. So if you are the partner, you'll have to pay less, obviously, because you'll be utilizing most of the services.
okay,
Okay, so there is a provision for EA subscription, enterprise level subscription.
yeah,
So they'll charge accordingly. Now it depends on your sales team how well they can negotiate with Microsoft.
got it, sir.
Okay.
Fine,
So if you're just a startup and you cannot afford the EA subscription, then you can go for pay as you go, and this will be charged from your credit card.
got it, sir.
So if your amount is less than, let's say, 10,000 in a month INR,
Yeah,
then they will be directly debited. If your amount is more than 10,000, then you have to pay. You can pay using credit card, but it won't be a direct debit. You'll have to work out with Microsoft how you're gonna pay that thing. Yeah.
got it, sir. Got it. Thank you.
Yes, just same like VM in the sense. Can you rephrase?
I'm sorry, sir.
No, I'm asking Jess. Yeah, you can upgrade the VM. Yeah, he was asking about the VM only. Okay, so you can upgrade your VM from uh, 4 GB to 16, whatever. Okay, I'll show you when we will be in the VM demo. I'll show you how you can change the size. But remember one thing: don't do that in production because there is a reboot involved. So whenever you wanna change the size, make sure you have the connectivity with other VM that is in the cluster, so that there is a minimum downtime because it's going to reboot. Okay. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, why should we move to cloud computing? Now, I have given you one example over here where you have an you have your web app, you have your code and you want to deploy that code. So for deploying that code, you'll be needing a server. On top of that, you'll be having operating system. On top of that, you'll be having runtime, and then you will be deploying your code. So all these are the things you need to do. Okay. So cloud computing provides you with the consumption-based model. That is also known as pay-as-you-go model. Okay. Here I have bought, let's say, one server. I have paid for the license of operating system. I have the runtime installed, and now on top of that, I have my code installed, code deployed. So my web app is running. Now I have only one instance of my web app. What if my hardware server encountered some hardware failure and it's down? So in this case, my website is down. So in order to have the high availability, in order to lower the downtime, what I need to do, I need to have at least two instances of my web app. So for running these two instances, I need at least two servers. So this is one server, this is another server. Now I need to do again the same thing, OS, runtime, and then web app. Okay. So if one server is down, the other server will run. So this is the thing I'll need to do. Okay. So if one server is down, other server. So but my cost is increasing over here. Earlier I have to pay like 1 lakh for one server. Now I'll have to pay for twice the I'll have to pay like 2 lakh rupees. Okay, so it's not pay as you go. This is known as upfront cost. So in order to have 2, 3, 4 instances of your application, you need to have that much of servers. So as if I'm increasing the number of servers, the cost will be increased. Okay, here it's pay as you go model. Now here I can have, let's say, one instance in cloud, two instance in cloud. Now if I have two instance in cloud, I'll have to pay for two things, the two virtual machines. Now next day, let's say I don't need this another instance. I can decommission that instance. So now my one instance is running, so I'll pay for only one instance. Okay, so if one instance is costing me, let's say, 1,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees a month, so two instance will cost me 20,000 rupees. So next month, if I don't need one instance, I don't have to pay this extra 10,000 over here. So this flexibility I'm not getting with the on-prem thing. If I have two instances of servers, I have already paid for the two instances. Okay, I cannot say that next day my website is not working, I'm not getting that much of business, so I want to decommission this another instance so I can save some money. You're not able to save that money over here. If you're dealing with the hardware servers, you have already incurred that charge. You have already paid for that. Here, if my website is not working and I only want one instance to be up and running and I am decommissioning the other instance, so I'm saving some money over here. Okay, so that is pay as you go model. So whatever you're consuming, you'll have to pay for that.
Okay. So how about if I have 1,000 VMs and on Azure platform? So how do I segregate, sir? Like as an example, in VMware, we do have each ESXi host have multiple numbers of VMs, 10, 15, 20, whatever. So here in Azure portal, how it works, sir? How we can separate the VMs?
See, in Azure, you can separate the VM on the basis of there are various things. Okay, so first of all, we have the option of resource groups. Okay,
Yeah.
we have option of tagging.
Okay.
Okay, so all those things are available. So let's say I want to segregate the VMs according to my department, so I can create different resource group for different department, and I can put my VMs in that resource group. Okay, so you can segregate accordingly as per your requirement.
Okay.
So we'll be covering those things in maybe an AZ900 when I
Okay.
have time. Okay.
Great.
Okay, so coming back to the topic, now it's a pay-as-you-go model. So it will automatically lower your cost, lower your operating costs. Okay. Now, how it is lowering my operating cost? Because if I don't need, I'm just decommissioning, so automatically I'll have to pay less. Okay. and it's scalable. So as per your need, you can add the number of instances. As per your need, you can decrease the number of instances. Scalable means, like I gave this example, if my one hardware server is down, my website is down, and that is impacting the business. So what I need to do, I need to have one extra instance up and running, so that if one instance is down, the traffic will be served, the request will be served from the other instances. Okay.
Okay. During this, is there any, as you said, fault tolerance
Mhm.
that goes down? Or see, when we talk about the business impact,
Yeah.
so what? How about if the server itself get restarted? So in this process, the server will get restarted in the scalability process. When one,
See,
yeah,
if you are doing it right at the moment, for example, let's say you are only having one instance running and now it's down, you
yeah,
don't have another instance. So obviously there is a downtime.
great,
Okay.
yeah,
Now, in order to avoid this, what you need to do, you need to at least have 2 or 3 instances running up front.
okay.
Okay. Before having having this server down.
Okay, so
Okay.
in these cases, we don't have the, there will be a, we can avoid the reboot, right?
Yeah, there
Getting
won't be a reboot. It's like running 2, 3 servers.
got it.
So
Yeah,
they are identical server. You know the clustering, right? How
yeah,
cluster works.
got
So these 3 servers will be in cluster.
it,
So
got
if
it.
one is down, I still have 2 things, 2 servers running. Okay, so if one is down, I can make sure that other instance is up and running by that time. Okay, so
Fine,
your request will be served by other 2 instances.
fine.
Scalable in the sense it's depend on your requirement whenever you want to scale it. In traditional on-prem thing, uh, obviously using VMware and Hyper-V, we can do that. But before the virtualization, you'll need to buy that hardware thing. Okay, so it's not kind of scalable thing over there. So scalable, the significance of scalable is we can take this example of Amazon or Flipkart. So they have this 4-day sale, 5-day sale, Amazon Big Billion Days or Flipkart, whatever they call their sale is. Okay. So they have that thing. So for that 4 days, for the sale days, for payday sale or Big Billion Days or whatever, for that number of days, they will be experiencing high amount of traffic. Okay, because we buy things when it's cheaper. So if there is an e-commerce site and they are announcing the sale, so obviously for that period, they will be experiencing high amount of traffic. So only for that 4 days, I will be needing like extra servers I'll be needing so that I can accommodate that amount of traffic only for that 4 days. After the sale is over, I can just go to the portal and I can decommission all the extra servers that I provision for that 4 days. Okay, so that is the meaning of scalable. Whenever you want, you can increase. Whenever you want, you can decrease the number of instances that you have. Okay,
Okay,
so that's one of the advantage we get when we are moving to cloud computing. And I'll be paying for that extra instances only for that 4 days, not for the whole month. Okay. So let's say if one day cost for this server is uh, uh, I don't know 5,000 or maybe 500 or 5,000. So only for that 4 day I'll be paying 20,000 for this server, not for the whole month. Okay. So there we can save a lot. So these are the options that you can consider while moving from while going for cloud computing instead of on-prem. So here's an example that I have given. So if you are using one server and that is costing you around $5 a month, for the next month, if you think you need 2 servers, so for that first month I have paid $5. For the next month I'll be paying $10. And the consecutive month, if I feel I don't need this server, so I can go and decommission it, and again my invoice will be coming as $5. Okay, so it's you just pay what you are consuming. So that is one of the major advantage that you get when you're moving to cloud computing. Okay. Now, as we discussed, we will be having high availability. High availability in the sense you have the option to deploy your instances is in any available region of the world. Okay, so let's say I'm the startup and I'm starting with my website and I've deployed it in India. And now I see after some analysis or something, I see that my customer based region is Australia. So in order to give them a good experience, in order to give the people of Australia good experience, what I'll do, I'll just deploy one instance of my web application to Australia in Australia region. Okay. Already there are a few instances running in India region. Now I have few instances running in Australia region. So whenever someone from Australia is hitting my website, they'll get low latency. If they're routing from India, they'll be getting high latency. The request time will be high. Okay. So to avoid that, to give a good experience to your users, you can just deploy your instances closer to your customer so that they'll be having a good experience of your application, whatever service you have to provide. Okay, so that is high availability. High availability in the sense Azure has multiple regions available all over the globe. So according to your requirement, wherever your user base is, wherever your customer base is, you can just go and deploy your instance of your application over there. Okay. Now imagine doing this thing with your on-prem thing. Now let's say I have a data center in India. Now, if my customer base is Australia, I have to set up another data center over there. It will cost me a lot of money. Using cloud computing, I'll have to just pay for this thing, for these servers, whatever the cost there is in Australia region. So I'll have to just pay for this thing. I don't have to pay for the hardware server, don't have to pay for the networking on and all those equipment that we require. Okay. So this is high availability. You can deploy your application anywhere in the world wherever we have the Azure region present. Okay. Now we have discussed scalability. So scalability, whenever you need, you can increase the number of instances of your server. Elasticity and scalability are the same thing. The only difference is this is automatically scalable. Elasticity means automatically scalable, automatically in the sense, uh, let's take the same example. Amazon is, let's say, announcing a sale. So they have, let's say, 2 instances running on an average. Now, whenever they announce the sale, let's say they add 2 more instances to accommodate the traffic. Okay, but this instance, I know that after 4 days there is going to be a sale. There is going to be a 4-day sale. So that is known to me. So what I'll do, I'll go to the Azure portal 1 day before or 2 day before, and I'll just add 2 more instances. So it is the manual thing. The scalability is there, but you need to add those instances. Elasticity means it will be done automatically. These 2 instances will be added automatically. You don't need to do anything. Okay, so scalability is for, let's say, known things. Elasticity is for unknown things. Okay, so unknown thing in the sense, let's say I have my company and I have few servers, application servers that is highly utilized during the business hours from Monday to Friday. But on weekends, those servers are underutilized. So in Azure, let's say I have deployed my application servers in 3 instances. So from Monday to Friday, these 3 instances are serving the request, and the utilization is around, let's say, 75% from Monday to Friday in the business hours. But on weekend, the utilization drops to 15%. So in this case, I don't need the extra instances on Saturday and Sunday on weekend. So what I can do, I can save some cost for my company. For weekend, I can have, let's say, only 1 instance and 2 instances are decommissioned automatic. I need to do this automatically. So for that, we can have this auto scalability option enable. That is nothing but elasticity. So from Monday to Friday, you'll be having 3 instances. On weekend, you can have some rules defined, and Azure will automatically decommission these 2 instances. And again on Monday, another 2 instances will be added. Okay, so for those 2 days, means 8 days in a month, I can save money. So I can have the cost cutting over here. on the instances. I can decommission that for 2 days, and again on Monday I can add that instances, and this will be done automatically. I don't need to do this manually every week. Okay, so that's it. That is nothing but elasticity. Agility is like how quickly you can recover from the failure. That is nothing but agility. So how quickly you can recover, it depends on how well you design your infra. How well do you architect your infra? Okay. Now, this is the advantage because Azure has distributed its data center all over the globe. So you can see that in India, you can see that in Singapore, you can see that in Australia. You can have one of the region for your disaster recovery scenario. Okay. So if I have a DR site already present, I can quickly recover if my primary site fails. So that is nothing but agility. Okay. So Azure has regions, Azure has data centers, availability zones inside the region. So I can make sure that I am planning my infra properly. And in case of failure to that particular region, so if I just give you this example, in India, Azure has its data center available to 3 different regions. That is Central India, West India, and South India. So Azure has data center in Pune, in Mumbai, and in Chennai. So I can plan accordingly. So if anything happens to Central India region, I need to make sure that I have my DR site already provisioned in West India. So I can route all the traffic to West India. Okay, so that is agility, how quickly you can recover. So because of that, Azure has designed in this way. So most of the region will be having more than one data centers. Okay, so you can, in case of any any connectivity failure or any natural calamities to that particular region, you can recover very quickly. Okay. So geo-distribution is nothing but Azure has its data center presence all over the world. You can see that in the you can see that over here how many regions Azure has. So Azure has its presence in most countries, and you can just see, you can see the full list. So it has in Hong Kong, in Singapore, in Australia, Brazil, Canada. Okay, so all this in all these countries, Azure has its present. So according to your requirement, you can deploy your application. So if my user base is in India, I'll be deploying my application in India region. Okay. So that is geo distribution.
So is this also included during the configuration of VM, sir, when we deploy the new VM?
Yeah. You have to select in which region, in which
Okay.
physical region you need your VM to be deployed. So
Got it,
that's
sir.
why I said, so if you have your user base, your custom base in Australia, make sure you're deploying your application over there so that it's closer to them. They will be having lower latency. Okay, so it depends what is your requirement, where is your customer base, or if you're not deploying it for customer, you're deploying it for your employees. Make sure if your company is having its operations in India, so you're deploying your application in India. Okay. Yeah, so there are two investment approach, capital expenditure and operational expenditure. Capital expenditure is nothing but the upfront cost that we need to pay. Operational expenditure is the monthly cost that your company is incurring. So if I take this in our example, so if I have a code present, if I have a code that is developed and I want to deploy that code, so what is the requirement? We have already covered. We need server, we need OS, we need the runtime, and then I can deploy my code. So what will be the capital expenditure over here? Whatever I'll be paying upfront. So I'll have to pay for this server, that is upfront. I'll have to pay for this operating system, and I'll have to pay the developer its fees. Okay. So this is my upfront cost. So if server is costing me 100,000, if OS is costing me, let's say 50,000, so this amount is my capital expenditure. Apart from this, I'll have to pay for the infra. So where you are going to keep your server. So you need the data center. So you need to pay for that infra. And then you need to pay for the public IP, for the domain name. So all those things you need to pay. So all this comes under the capital expenditure. This is the upfront cost that I'll have to bear. Similarly, for company, that is the upfront cost. Operational expenditure is like you will be having the specialist. So if you're going for the Windows operating system, you'll be needing the Windows admin. So this admin, I'll have to pay to this admin a monthly salary. So that is my operational expenditure. Okay. And if I have some maintenance work going on to that infra, the cleaning thing, the cleaning process, the air condition maintenance, and all those things, those comes under your operational expenditure. So it's the monthly cost that you're incurring. Capital expenditure is the upfront cost. Now, cloud computing, you don't need any upfront cost. So that is the beauty of cloud. You just need to pay for your monthly cost, or whatever bill, whatever invoice you'll be getting from Azure, you'll have to pay for that. You have to pay that amount only. Cloud computing comes under operational expenditure. For them, for the service provider, it's obviously the capital expenditure. But for us, the consumers, it's operational expenditure. You have to pay the monthly cost. Okay. So these are the two investment approach. These are the financial term, but you may get questions from this in AZ900 exam. Okay. So capital expenditure is nothing but the upfront cost. Operational expenditure is your maintenance cost. So if you take an example of car, so to buy that car, I'll need some capital, some money. So that money is nothing but capital expenditure. And to do the service, to do the washing, to change the oil, to change. So all those things will come under my operational expenditure. The maintenance of that car will fall under Opex. The buying of that car will fall under Capex. Okay, so that is the difference between Capex and Opex. Now there are three different service models when you talk about Azure. Not only Azure, any cloud computing, any cloud platform. If you talk about any cloud platform, there are three different service models you have to choose from. There is infrastructure as a service, there is platform as a service, and software as a service. Now, what is the difference? Infrastructure as a service, you'll be having more control over the infra. Infra in the sense, not the physical infra. You have more control on the server itself. Okay. So if I'm going for infrastructure as a service, I'll be given that server. So that server, now I can decide what operating system I want, what runtime I want. And on that particular operating system and runtime, then you can deploy your code. Okay. But you have the access to this VM. Now, let's say tomorrow you don't need to have, you decide to change the runtime, you can just uninstall the previous runtime, you can have the new runtime. So let's say I have deployed .NET initially, but now my developer is asking me to change the framework from .NET to maybe, let's say, for Python, for Python Django or something. So you can do that if you're going for infrastructure as a service. So you have more control over that. So you have that control over this virtual machine and the operating system.
So
Okay.
is this like an enterprise admin permissions like
Yeah, you can say that. Okay. So But here the permissions are changed. So the permissions are as per the Azure. So if you're talking about deploying this operating system and then changing the runtime, so for that you need to make sure that that particular user who is doing all this thing has the virtual machine permissions that we have in the RBAC role in Azure. Okay. So in infrastructure as a service, you have the control. So you have to maintain this operating system. So if there is a patch provided by Microsoft or Linux, Windows or Linux, so you have to make sure that they have the recent patches. So maintenance is your responsibility if you're going for infrastructure as a service. Okay. Now, PaaS, platform as a service, will give you the platform to deploy the code. It's like bring your code, deploy it, that's all. Now here you have the option to choose which operating system you'd like to use, which runtime you want. You just have the option to choose that and deploy the code. That's all. I don't have the option to log into this operating system and change whatever I want to change. So that is the difference between infrastructure as a service and platform as a service. In infrastructure as a service, I can log into this VM and I can change whatever I want to change. Here, I don't have that option of logging into the operating system and changing the things. Here, you just need to bring your code, deploy your code, that's all. You have the option of choosing your OS and runtime, but you cannot log into that operating system. Okay. Software as a service is like just subscribe to that particular service and pay for it pay for it monthly. That's all. Okay. So this is not for building or deploying your application. Software as a service, you cannot come up with a code and deploy it into a software as a service model. So it's not how it works. Okay. So software as a service is like your Netflix subscription. So I cannot go and add my movie, whatever movie I would like to watch over there in Netflix. So it's something from them. They already have a list of movies, a collection of movies, and I'm just paying monthly fee so that I can watch whatever they have in the store for me. Okay. But in platform as a service, you can consider platform as a service to your maybe CD player or DVD player. There I have the option of bringing the CD and so CD, bringing the DVD. Consider that DVD as the code. You just bring your code and deploy it. You bring your DVD, deploy it, and watch whatever movie you'd like to watch. Okay, but here just remember this thing. If I am giving this example, you have the option of changing everything to the CD, DVD, the hardware itself. That option I'm not getting over here. I just need to say the OS. I just need to say the runtime. I need to bring my code, deploy. That's all. Yeah. In infrastructure as a service, take the same example, but here you have the option of choosing whether you want to watch the movie in CD, DVD, in computer, in TV, whatever. Okay. So these are the three difference. These are the three service model that are available over there. So in software as a service, you have Microsoft 365 that you can use. Platform as a service, you have lot of services available in Azure like web app where you can deploy your code. You have Key Vault where I can store my passwords and all those things. We have storage account where I can store some data, whatever I'd like to save. Infrastructure as a service, you have virtual machines. So here you are getting full control over your virtual machine. Okay. So if you want to build anything, use infrastructure as a service. If you want to just deploy, you don't want to build anything, don't want to create the code, you don't want to develop the code, you just bring your code and deploy that thing. If you don't want to take any, let's say, now how do you use the mailing services? What are the different options to use the mailing services? In order to use the mailing service, you can use the publicly available service, Hotmail. I can use that service. I can send and receive email. Okay. Or else if if my company wants to use its own services, create its own services, they can use the Exchange services, right? Or they can go for Microsoft 365 subscription. So these are the three things. So what is Hotmail and Microsoft 365? This comes under software as a service. Here, I'm not doing anything. I'm just going, I'm creating the account and I'm sending the email. That's all. Whatever the background, whatever the backend infra they have, I'm not worried about that. So it's on Microsoft, it's on the provider. They'll do that thing. They're just giving me that service. That's all. So that is software as a service. Now here, Exchange will be your infrastructure as a service. Why it will be an infrastructure as a service? Because I need that server. On top of that, I'll need to install the Exchange component, whatever we require for the Exchange thing. So I need to have Windows OS. On top of that, I need to have Exchange. So all those things I need to manage. So that comes under infrastructure as a service. Microsoft 365 again comes under software as a service because everything is given to you. You just subscribe, use the services. That's all. For platform as a service, I don't have any example, but consider this is like your own service. Just bring your code and deploy. That's all. So that is platform as a service. Okay. So these are the three service model that we have in cloud computing: infrastructure as a service, platform, and software as a service. Now, which one will you be choosing? You need more control, go for infrastructure as a service. You just need to deploy your code, go for platform as a service. You don't need to bother about the code or anything, just go for software as a service. But we need to see that whether that particular service is available or not. So what else comes under software as a service? Are you guys using ServiceNow? ServiceNow is the ticketing tool, your ITL framework tool. Okay. So this comes under software as a service. Are you guys using Bitbucket or GitHub? So all these things are coming under software as a service thing. So everything is deployed. You just need to subscribe and use that service. So that is nothing but software as a service. Okay. So these are the three models that we have. Now, whichever model you choose, you have some responsibilities. Responsibilities in the sense something is there that you are responsible for. Something is there that is cloud provider is responsible for. So if I'm deciding to host everything on-prem, I am responsible for everything. I'm responsible for the storage. I'm responsible to make sure there is connectivity. I'm responsible for the hardware compute, for the hardware server, for the virtual machine, and on top of that hardware server, for the operating system, for the runtime, for the application, and for the data. If I go for infrastructure as a service, the thing in blue is cloud service provider's responsibility. So they will be making sure that there is a storage, there is networking connectivity between the hardware servers, and there is the hardware server which is available so that you can create your virtual machines. Okay. Now from that virtual machine to the data and accesses, all are our responsibility. So you need to create the virtual machine. You need to see what is the specific size you need. You need to select the operating system. You need to patch those operating system. You need to select the runtime. You need to make sure that you have the latest runtime installed so that you can avoid the hacking or all those things. You need to make sure proper application is installed on top of that runtime. And then you need to make sure that whatever data user is uploading or whatever data you are providing to the user, who can access is, all those things is your responsibility. If you go to platform as a service, you see till runtime responsibility of is the responsibility of cloud provider.
So, small quick question here.
Yeah.
So whoever the cloud provider manages the compute network and storage, right? How about will they be having the access to our data? since we talk about the hacking and all?
They don't have access to the data because whatever data you'll be uploading, that is in the encrypted format.
Okay.
So if someone get holds of the hard disk where your data is stored, and that person connects that hard disk to its own laptop, that person won't be able to see your data because that's in encrypted format, and he need the BitLocker key in order to unencrypt that data. Not only BitLocker, they are using 3-dash algorithms and all those algorithms to make sure that your data is encrypted.
Got it, sir. Thank you. Yep.
Yep. So for platform as a service, application is my responsibility. Application here is nothing but the code that you're deploying. So that is your responsibility. And who has access to that particular application? What is the data you are going to upload on using that application is your responsibility. Now, if you move to software as a service, only data and access is my responsibility. What is my responsibility if I'm using Microsoft 365? Or if I'm using Google Drive, what is my responsibility? My responsibility is data only. I can upload whatever data I want in that drive. So this is my responsibility to bring the data and to store that data. To make sure that data is replicated and all those things have happened is happening in the backend. So it's responsibility of Google. Similarly, if you're using Microsoft 365 services, what we can do with Microsoft 365 services. So Microsoft 365 services is nothing but the suite of services. Okay, so you'll be getting OneDrive, you'll be getting emails, Outlook email access, you'll be getting your calendars, you'll be getting Teams, Microsoft Teams. So all these things are provided to us. Okay. So OneDrive, what I can use OneDrive for storing data. So I'm only responsible for that data because Microsoft 365 falls under software as a service. I'm responsible for the data and who has access to that data. I can share the data, right? At the end of this lecture, you can see I have started recording this session. So I'll be having a recorded file of this. So who can access that particular file? So I can share that thing. This file is going to store in OneDrive. And now I'll be sharing this file with you guys. So who has access to that? I am responsible for that because I'll be creating a link. I'll be giving you the link so you can access that link. You can watch this video whenever you want to, if you have that link and if the video is present in the OneDrive. Okay. Similarly, sending the email, receiving the email is my responsibility. Sending the email is my responsibility, but all the backend hardware is managed by Microsoft. Okay. So software as a service is like out of the box application that you just need to sign up and use. That's all. So no matter which service model you are using, you have your own responsibility and cloud service provider has its own responsibility.
So in a platform as a service, if you want to create some 10 virtual machine, how the procedure works here? Like, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have option to create the virtual machine over here.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah. In platform as a service, I don't have access to create the virtual machine.
Yes.
So
So
if
in
you
this,
need, yeah,
yep.
if you're talking about number of instances you want. Okay. So every platform as a service has its own feature. So if I talk about web app service that has Azure has as its feature. Here I can make use of slot settings. So if I want more number of instances, I can deploy number of slots. Okay. I can have 1 slot, 2 slot, 3 slot. So I can have those amount of slot over there. So I'll be having number of instances. Okay. I don't have direct access to the virtual machine. I just need to bring my code and deploy. That's all.
Got it.
So if you need to have number of instances, you need to make sure that you are deploying multiple app services. App service 1, app service 2. And again, you'll need to use the load balancing. So it's not as the cluster thing, but you can use load balancer, and you can balance the load accordingly. Or you can use this slot thing and you can balance the load accordingly. Okay. So Azure will make sure that this virtual machine, where whatever virtual machine we have, uh, whatever virtual machine my code is being deployed is available to you. So that is Azure's responsibility. Okay.
Right.
After service model, there is deployment model. There are three different deployment model of cloud computing. There is public cloud, there is private cloud, and there is hybrid cloud. Now, hybrid has is nothing but the combination of public and private. So let's understand the difference between public and private. So public cloud is a shared model in the sense it's available to the general public. Anyone can go to that particular service provider's website and can create its own web app, can deploy its own web app, can deploy its own application into that public cloud. So public cloud is nothing but publicly available. Anyone can go and make use of it. Private cloud is private to you. Okay. So in private cloud, I'm not allowing any general public to come over to my website and deploy its own virtual machine. That's not allowed in private cloud. So what comes under private cloud? You have your VMware, so you have your ESXi, you have created virtual machines using ESXi. So that is somewhat private to you. So that is the meaning of private cloud. You're using Hyper-V. Using Hyper-V, you have created few virtual machines. So it's only available to my company. Only my company's employee can access that virtual machine, and whatever changes they want to do, they can do. So it's like a private to your own organization. Okay. Hybrid cloud is like you're using some features from your, let's say, VMware or from Hyper-V. You have deployed some of your resources on-prem and some of your resources in public. Some of your resources on-prem and some of your resources in public. So that is like hybrid kind of thing. So I have, let's say, I'm using storage of my of on-prem storage. I'm using storage of, let's say, NetApp or something like that, and I'm using virtual machines in public cloud, and that virtual machine is utilizing storage from on-prem. So I have something on-prem, something in public. So that is known as hybrid cloud. Okay, it depends on your requirement. You don't want your data to be shared to, you don't want to save your data. Your data is, or for whatever reason, or for the compliance reason, or for any other reason, you don't want to store your data in cloud. Then in that case, you need to use but you want to leverage the virtual machine, the web app, and all those things in public cloud, but you want your data on-prem. So in those kinds of scenario, you may consider using hybrid cloud. So you have your data on-prem, you have your virtual machine in cloud. So those are the scenarios where you can consider using hybrid cloud. Now, most of the companies are still operating in the hybrid way. And most of the companies have already gone ahead and have all of thing in the public cloud. Okay. So that depends on company to company. If they have some strict compliance requirement where where they're not allowed to store their data in public cloud, so they need to use the private thing. Okay. So these are the three different models, deployment models. So in this course in AZ900, we will be working with the public cloud only. So whatever we'll be deploying it to the public cloud. So Azure is a public cloud. Anyone can register, anyone can subscribe and can deploy its resources. Okay, obviously they have to pay the monthly cost. So that is public cloud. Apart from Azure, we have AWS, we have GCP, we have DigitalOcean, there is Alibaba. So there is Oracle Cloud now. So there are many cloud providers available in the market. So all cloud providers, they are providing services to the general public, falls under public cloud. Okay. Now we will be working with Azure. So it's it's necessary for you guys to know the terminologies involved in Azure. Okay. Now I know it will be a lot. You'll be overwhelmed with this terminology because unless and until you start working on Azure platform, you won't understand what I'm trying to explain over here. But I'll be explaining all these terms in an easy manner. Okay. So what is an Azure account? Let's start with Azure account. So let me give you the example of your of Netflix. So in order to watch movies or series in Netflix, what I need to do, I need to go to the Netflix website. I need to subscribe. I need to sign up. So for signing up, what you need? You need an email address, right? Email address or mobile number. So that becomes your Netflix account. Whatever email you have used, that becomes your Netflix account. So similarly, for Azure, whenever I'll be subscribing, I'll have to use an email ID. So that email ID will become my Azure account. So whenever I'll be signing up for Azure services, I need an email ID, and that email ID will become my Azure account. So whatever email you're using, that email ID, that account will have full rights. Okay. So that is Azure account. Azure account is nothing but an account that you have used to subscribe to Azure platform. And after you have subscribed, like in Netflix, we can create multiple profiles. So if I want my Netflix to be shared amongst my friends or my family, I'll be creating profiles and they can switch the profiles. They can have their own profile and watch whatever they would like to watch. So whatever their watch history is, that will be stick to that particular profile. Similarly, in Azure, I can I can invite users, I can create new users. We will be creating new users. Okay. So all those users, all those emails that you are adding, you're creating, that will become the Azure account. Okay. So let's say I have used one email to subscribe for Azure. So that email is my Azure account. Let's say I have used this email. So that is my Azure account. But I want my friend to use my Azure account. So what I'll do, I'll create one user using Azure Active Directory. Let's say a dot something @ikclasses.com. So this is another Azure account. But this account that I used to subscribe has the full rights. And the new account that I have created will be having the rights, whatever I specify, whatever rights I'll be giving to this particular account. Okay, so that is Azure account. You have subscribed, that become your Azure account. I'll come to management group later. Let's discuss what subscription is. So I have created the Azure account, but still I cannot deploy the virtual machine. I cannot deploy any other resource into Azure account. Why I cannot deploy? I need a subscription. Now you can create Netflix account, you can create the account, but it's not the thing that you can watch the movie as well. When you can watch the movie, when you subscribe to one of the plan. So there are different plans available, 649, 299, I don't know. So whatever plans available. So I have to subscribe for any of the plan. Once you have subscribed, then only you can watch your favorite movie or your series, whatever series they have to offer. So similarly here, I need a subscription for Azure in order to deploy any resource. You can say subscription is nothing but the billing entity. Using this billing entity, using subscription, Azure will charge you. Okay. So there's an Azure account. So you can create the account free of cost, but you cannot deploy any resources. In order to deploy the resources, you need a subscription. Okay. Subscription is nothing but the billing entity. Now let's come to management group. Now in one company, how many subscription you think they'll be having? Now it depends how the hierarchy is set up, what are the deployment is set, or what are the department are set. According to that, they will be having multiple subscription or a single subscription. Okay. So if I speak for my clients, I have few clients that I consulted for. I design the infra this way. So if they want to use Azure resources, I advise them to use, let's say, finance subscription, HR subscription, IT subscription. Then you're in under IT, I have a development subscription, I have testing subscription, I have production subscription. So in finance subscription, I'll be having all the resources belongs to the finance department. In HR subscription, I'll be having resources belongs to the HR department. In IT subscription, I'll be having, means in IT, I have divided multiple IT, I have divided it into multiple subscription. So I have 3 different subscriptions over here. So here you can see I have multiple subscriptions over here. Now let's say you want to restrict your users from deploying some resources into one of the subscriptions. How you will restrict those users? So in Azure, we have something known as Azure policies. Using that policy, I can restrict the user, I can allow the users. Okay. So if I want to restrict the users in HR department from deploying a virtual machine that is like 64, that has the 64 gigabyte of RAM or 8 core processors, I don't need that for HR department. But if I don't restrict, people will use that subscription and deploy it if they have the access. So in order to restrict that, I can apply the policy over here. So I have the policy applied over here. So in HR subscription, no one will be able to deploy the 64 gigabyte RAM of virtual machine. I want to have the same thing for the finance as well. What I need to do, I need to go to the finance subscription. I need to apply the same policy over here. Similarly, in IT department, for dev and test subscription, I don't want anyone to deploy it. So here, what you see over here, I have to do the same task for 4 different subscriptions. Now imagine you have thousands of subscriptions. In that case, it's not possible to go to each and every subscription and apply that policy. That is a tedious work for the admin. So to avoid that headache, what you can do, you can make use of management group, and you can keep whatever subscription need to have the same level of control. You can keep those subscription in one management group. You can create management group, let's say management group number 1. And if finance, HR, dev and test need to have the same kind of control, same kind of restriction, I'll put all the subscription in that management group. And instead of applying policies to each and every subscription, I'll be applying policies to that management group. So once you apply the policy to the management group, it will be inherited, and all the subscriptions under that management group will inherit those policies that you have. So whatever restriction you have applied, all those restriction will be inherited. So it's easy to manage the multiple subscriptions. You can use management group for that. Okay. Region is nothing but the geographic location where you want to deploy your resource. So as I shown you before, Azure has many regions. So region is nothing but the physical location. Region pair means every region is paired to another region, so that if the primary region fails, you still have your data to the paired region. So in India, we have 3 different regions. We have Central India, West India, and South India. So Central India is paired with South India. So if I enable the replication, whatever I'm replicating is, if I enable the replication, that data will be replicated to South India. So if anything happens to Central India, I still have my data over here. So I can route my traffic from South India. So every region in Azure is paired with another region, so that for DIA kind of situation, or for if primary region fails kind of situation, you still have your data in secondary regions from where you can collect, you can route the traffic to that particular region, or you can have your data. Okay. Now availability zone is collection of data centers, you can say. Now, if you'll go before going to availability zone, if I go back to the region side, you can see over here every region. This is the geography. So in Australia, there are Australia East, Australia Southeast, Australia Central, and Australia Central 2. So there are 4 different regions, and every region is paired with other region. Similarly, if I'll scroll down and go to India region, India geography, you can see in India we have 3 different regions: Central India, South India, and West India. Central India is paired with South India. Similarly, West India is paired with South India. So if anything happens to, let's say, the primary region, you still have your data in South India. Okay, so here you need to notice one thing, that India is a geography and there are 3 different regions: Central India, South India, and West India. We have 3 different regions in India. Okay, now Central India is paired with South India. Now both this region belongs to one geography, that is India. Now why is it so? Why Central India is not paired with France South or Canada East or in from China? Now why they haven't paired with the other regions in other geography is because of the compliance rule. Now it depends on land of law. So if you are aware of GDPR compliance rule, they have some their rules over there. They have their laws that they cannot share data. You cannot uh, bring data from Europe, and you cannot store that data in India. So there are some rules, there are some laws, depends on which geography you are. So to make sure you're not avoiding those laws, Azure made sure that the data in one geography is staying in the same geography. It's not crossing the geography. So I'm not storing data from India to France or from China to Canada. So this is not happening. So you can see that in the same geography, we have the region. Okay, regional pair belongs to the same geography. The only exception is I guess, Brazil. So Brazil South is paired with South Central US. So that is the only option. That is the only exception we have. Okay, apart from that, we'll scroll down. I guess everything is in the same geography. Okay. Now, what is availability zone? So availability zone is nothing but the collection of data centers. So if we consider, if we say India is a geography, and in India we have 3 different regions: Central India, South India, and West India. So in one region, you have multiple availability zones, and these availability zones are apart from each other, 150 miles apart from each other. Okay, so in Central India, I have, let's say, 3 zones: availability zone 1, availability zone 2, and availability zone 3. In one availability zone, I may have 1 data center, or I may have 3 data centers. Okay, so it depends. Now, so in one region has 3 different availability zones. One availability zone has multiple data centers. Okay, so this is the hierarchy you see over here. So this is done so that you can have a backup of your data closer to each other. Okay? So I can have copies of my data, my primary copies over here in one data center. I can have copy of a secondary copy here in another data center. So it's closer to each other. So if one data center fail, I still have the copies over here. If one availability zone fail and I have enabled the replication, I still have my copy here in availability zone 2. If both the AZ fail, I have third AZ. If the region fail, I have another region. If the geography fail, I can make sure that I have a DR site nearer to India, that is Singapore, Southeast Asia, or East Asia in Japan. Okay, so Hong Kong or Japan. Okay, so you can make sure that you have designed in such a way so that even if one data center fails, you still have data. Even if one geography fails, you still have data. Now, there are very less chances of failing the geography, okay, because uh, there's nothing at one time you cannot have all the regions down. Okay, so it's very less chances. So you have to design your data. You have to architect your application in such a way, or your infrastructure in such a way, that even if something happens to one region or one data center, you still have your application running. You still have your data running. Okay. Now the next one is resource group. So resource group is a logical resource. It's it's it groups the resources. Now what are the resources? Resources are nothing but, let's say, virtual machine, your storage account, your SQL DB, your key vault, your Cosmos DB. So all these are nothing but resources. All the services that Azure is providing to you is resource. The public IP, the virtual NIC, all are nothing but the resources. Now to group these resources, Azure gives you the flexibility to create the resource group. Okay, so that, let's say I'm just doing a testing. If you're doing a testing, you are provisioning, you're spinning up a virtual machine. So with that virtual machine, a virtual disk gets provisioned, a virtual NIC gets provisioned, public IP gets provisioned. So all those things are getting provisioned when you are spinning up a virtual machine in Azure. If you're just doing testing, I want to make sure that after testing is done, I need to delete all these resources so that I don't incur the charges. What Azure is doing is asking you to create the resource group, and in that particular resource group, you're keeping all the resources. So at the end of the testing, when the testing is done, I can simply delete this resource group. So all the resources inside that resource group is getting deleted. So resource group is just the logical thing that helps you to group a number of resources. Okay. Now another example of resource group you can consider is like, if you're creating a VM or resources for HR department, you can keep that in one resource group. If you're creating resources for your IT department, you can keep that in one resource group. So that at the end of the month, when you are entering the costing in the cost center, you can just see what HR has costed, what IT resource group has cost us. So you can just enter that value in the cost center. Okay? So for that thing also, you can use the resource group, and you can have different resource group for different department, or however you would like to use it. So let's see the summary again. Azure account is the account you use for signing up. Management group is used to make sure that if you are using multiple subscription, you can keep the subscription inside the management group, and you can apply the policies at the management group level so that all the subscription will inherit those policies. Subscription is the billing entity. So if you want to use Azure resources, if you want to deploy resources, you can make use of subscription. Region is the geographical location where you want to keep your where you want to deploy your resource, where you want to keep your data. Every region is paired with another region in the same geography. Inside a region, you may or may not have a availability zone. So every region doesn't have the availability zone. Okay. So in India, we have Central India. Central India has 3 different availability zones, but West India and South India doesn't have the availability zone. Okay. So they may be having 3 data center. They may be having 1 data center. I don't know. So availability zone, inside the region, you'll be having multiple availability zone, and inside that availability zone, under that availability zone, you'll be having multiple data centers. Resource group is used to group the resources so that if you're doing testing, or if you're doing if you want to delete all the resources at once, you can just go and simply delete the resource group. All the resources inside that resource group will get deleted. Resource is can be your VM or whatever you are deploying. That is nothing but one resource. So all the services that Azure has to provide, you can consider that as resource. Okay. Any question in the terminology?
Yes, sir. That region pair. So it happens at the back end automatically whenever we create the VM in other region, like how it's
No, it doesn't happen automatically. So
okay.
that we need to do. Uh, if you are doing the replication, and if one region is fail, then you need to make sure that the traffic is being routed to the other region.
Okay,
So
so that means
it just help you to have that data quickly available.
great. Fine, sir. So that we need to do the configuration after.
Yeah. So you need to make sure proper alerts are being in place so that if one region is going down, you should get the alert, and you can make sure that traffic is being routed from the other region now. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So I'm not covering this create free tier account because I don't want you to create one. But yeah, if you still want to create it, you can just go to your uh, Google or Bing or any search engine, and you can search for Azure free account. From there, you can just create your free tier account. So you can click on create your free tier account, just provide the information. You can click on start free. Just provide your email address over here. Okay, so I have already utilized it and I don't have any other email address which I can use. So you can just provide your email address, and I have already utilized, so I won't be able to create a free tier again. So you just enter your email address and password, and once you are on the screen, it will ask you your address, your credit card details, your phone number, all those things you need to enter. And once you enter all those things, you'll be able to get your free tier account. But I don't want you to create a free tier account. If you really are preparing for AZ900 exam, you can just go to this page, learning path, and from here, if we have any lab, you can see that as a sandbox over here. But we don't have the lab for AZ900. But if you're preparing for any other certification like AZ104 or something, Microsoft has provided you with the sandbox. If I just go to AZ104 and docs, not docs, this one, docs.microsoft.com, Microsoft Learn. Here, if you'll go, you'll just scroll down and let me click on start. Wherever you see the exercise, okay, there Azure has provided you with the you see here exercise. So once you click on this exercise, Azure will provide you the sandbox. Sandbox is nothing but you'll be having a portal access, and you can create this resource whatever they have asked you for this particular module. Okay, but that is restricted. You don't have full access to the portal, but yeah, you can practice for the exam. So it will be enough for you to understand this particular module, and so that you have the proper idea how you can utilize this particular resource, whatever resource they are defining over there. Okay, so every module, every certification for which Microsoft has a Microsoft Learn module, you'll be getting the sandboxes so that you can do your hands-on. So I am not recommending you to use a free tier account so early because I'm not covering AZ104 right now. After this 4 days, I don't know when I'll get time to cover AZ104. But maybe in September, I'll start AZ104 batch as well. So when I'll be starting AZ104 batch, I'll recommend you to create a free tier account. Right now, don't waste your free tier, because you can only have one account as a free tier. Once you have utilized that, you'll need to uh, convert that free tier into pay as you go, and you'll have to pay some amount. But even if you're using pay as you go, and you're doing practice for AZ104, and you're deleting the resources that is not required. For example, we are on module number 1, and whatever lab I'll be sharing, if you're performing that lab, and at the end of completion of lab, if you delete those resources, you won't be Microsoft won't be charging you more than 1,000 rupees a month if you're deleting the resources. If you forget to delete the resources, then it may increase. Okay, because I have been using it for each and every batch, and I know how much it cost. Okay, so in a month, including all my batches and my personal practice, I'm not going above 3,000. You can see that even if you're going for pay as you go, you won't have to pay more than 1,000 rupees. Okay, and it's enough for you to get your hands on and to clear the exam. And if you do lots of hands on, I'm sure that you'll be landing in a good job. Because if you'll just go to indeed.com or monster.com, you can see how the job market is open for Azure administrators or for Azure architect. Even if you just search for Azure jobs, you'll see the number of jobs we have right now. Right now, the market is hot for cloud engineers. Okay, so I'll encourage you to do lots of hands-on. Just watching the theory won't help you. Watch the theory to clear the concept, but do the hands-on to understand that actually. Okay. Now, when I started my journey, I was also thinking like this only, that I'll have to pay 1,000 rupees from my salary, and I don't want to do that. I want everything free of cost, but that's not possible. Okay, you can get your training free of cost, but unless and until you're trying it, you won't understand what I'm actually trying to explain. So use your free tier. Once you're done with your free tier, go for pay as you go and do lots of hands-on. Once you are done with the hands-on, first do the hands-on over here. Same hands-on you can do in your own subscription. And once that is done, you'll be confident enough to answer the interview questions. Okay. So any question, guys? I'm open for question and answer. If you have any question, you can ask.
Go for AZ900 exam.
Yeah, come again.
Is that mandatory to go ahead with the AZ900 certification?
No, it's not mandatory. But if you just want to see the services, and it's free of cost. At the beginning of lecture, I showed you how you can utilize that. So you can have a certification free of cost in your resume, but it's just a entry level certification, so it doesn't hold that much of value. But yeah, you
Okay.
can have a certification in your resume. So, and it's free of cost, so why not go for it?
Sure, sir.
Yeah, any other question, guys?
So tomorrow again we will be having the class at the same time, right, sir?
Yeah, the same time.
So continuous 4 days, or we'll go ahead and complete others AZ900
Yeah, we'll
session.
be completing. I'll be giving you some demos, whatever demo they have. Okay.
It is
And if,
completely theoretical.
no, there are demos for creating VM or creating SQL, but not in depth. I'll just show you how you can create the VM. That's all.
Okay.
I'll, if we get time, I'll show you how you can install the application as well inside that VM. So once you have the VM, it's same as we do as a Windows admin. So it's the same thing.
Fine, sir.
Okay. Okay, guys. So if you don't have any question, then we can conclude. I hope you found this session
Very much.
good and you
Very
got some knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, sir.
Bye. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.